take my everything, let it be is just meaning use me for whatever you want, whatever you see fit. And I love how Francis Ridley Havergal, whoever that is, the person who wrote the words to this song, okay, how can I put this? He didn't just keep it simple, I guess I can say. He really took it and broke it down and truly showing it's literally everything of me. You know, my life, my moments, my days, okay? My hands, my feet, my voice, my lips, my silver and my gold, my intellect, my will. That's a big one. Take my will and make it thine. Take my heart. Why take my heart? He says, it is thine own. He said, take it. It's yours. Take my love and take myself. I mean, it's just, I love how the artist could have kept, this person could have kept this song very simple, you know, in the sense of take my life and let it be, but instead they just broke down every nitty-gritty part into 6 verses. So often people, when they look at these older hymns, and they might almost get, you could say, scared away at some points, you know, 6 verses. That's so long. But I mean, it didn't take us long to get through that, right? And they're all so important. They all have such a great message, good message to it. So anyway, okay, let's get into the word tonight. The book of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 18. If anybody wants to pucker tonight, I've got some lemon heads. Not to mean anything negative, because I have to say I really enjoyed the message this morning, but I did not sleep well last night. I don't know why, I just didn't. So I was really tired this morning, and out of all the candy that I could have chosen, I wanted to get yesterday when we were out shopping, something drew me to lemon heads. And I think that's because God needed me to make sure to stay awake during the message this morning. So what I would do is, I was just like, I don't know that one will quite do it. I was popping 4 of them in my mouth at a time, and you know, so at first you get the lemony, and then it seems like it was perfect. The 2 times this morning, 2 batches, I'll say I put in my mouth this morning, right about the time when it's just like, okay. Then all of a sudden that sour hit, that puckers, and okay, I'm awake, yes. But anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed the message this morning. So let's get into 2 Samuel tonight. If you remember from last week, Absalom we could say he's taken the throne, okay? Yeah, he has taken the throne, so David and a good amount of men are on the run at this point. However, we do see that even through all of this and everything that's happening, it's not something where God has abandoned David, okay? David and his men. We can see that just right from the very end of chapter 17, where we ended last week, how that you had a couple men that came out and brought, I'm not saying they just brought some granola bars and water, okay? They actually brought a lot of delicious, wonderful, nourishing food, as well as the supplies needed for David and his men to get a good night's sleep and to be able to bathe as well, be able to freshen up and feel, as I said last week, feel like a new person at that point. So it wasn't just the bare minimum of food. They were getting a refreshing and nourishment, what they really needed. And so tonight, as we start in chapter 18, let's go ahead and we'll read just the first 4 verses. And David numbered the people who were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. Then David sent out 1/3 of the people under the hand of Joab, 1/3 under the hand of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and 1/3 under the hand of Ittai, the Gittite. And the king said to the people, I also will surely go out with you myself. But the people answered, You shall not go out, for if we flee away, they will not care about us, nor if half of us die. Will they care about us? But you are worth 10,000 of us now, for you are now more help to us in the city. Then the king said to them, Whatever seems best to you, I will do. So the king stood beside the gate, and all the people went out by hundreds and by thousands. Okay, so we don't have, we do not have an exact number, okay, of how many men were with David. This is one of the times, different times through, as we've been looking at David, it's mentioned how many men he had with him, even from back in the days when he was running from Saul, and he had more of a, you'd call a ragtag group with him, people who were not well liked, many of which probably were criminals, okay? These ones here now, it's not mentioned how many he has, other than it is thousands. Thousands are following David. And so David has, at this point, there are so many, he has seen that even though it is his son, and as we will see, he does not want anything to happen to his son, okay? It is essential, it is imperative for them to have an army, okay? And by what I mean by an army is organized military. People in charge, people who can make sure that all these men are trained properly, take them through the exercises, that sort of thing, and just keep them as a group following certain leaders. And he picks out 3 men to lead, one being Joab, one being Abishai, and one being Ittai. I'll pronounce them all that way. And he has put them in charge, okay? That he has separated the military into, we'll call it, into 3 branches or 3 groups. You have those 3 men leading them, and then it says that there were others that were placed as well, okay? You can call those 3 men the generals, okay? The generals of these 3, okay? And there were other captains over it says under hundreds as well underneath them. So it was almost like they had 3 separate armies almost, okay, is what David had. So they had a really good amount of men. And he knows that they're going to have to go out. They're going to have to, not just in the sense of defense, they're going to have to put up an offense as well. David sees that, and that's why he is doing it. And as he sends them out, David, at the end of at the end of verse 2, he said, I also will surely go out with you myself. Okay, David is saying here, he's just like, look, he said, I am not just going to sit as I have in the past. I'm not just going to send you out to say do the work while I sit in hiding or while I sit and take it easy. I am going to go out with you. Okay? He's doing as he should. It says, but the people, in verse 3, the people answered, and I'm going to say, when it says people, I'm going to say it's most likely those 3 as I'm calling them generals. Okay? Because those are the three that he would most likely be the one conversing directly with, and then they would take care of the other captains and such under him. He said, these men said, "You shall not go out, for if we flee away, they will not care about us, nor if half of us die, will they care about us. But you are worth 10,000 of us now." So what they start out saying is, you know what? No, we won't allow you to go with us. Okay, now remember, in past weeks when we looked at it, especially in one big spot, or one big time of when David neglected his duties, because of that fell into sin, was the whole David and Bathsheba and Uriah incident, okay? He should have been out to war. That's where, as king, he was supposed to be. Instead, he stayed home, and that's when he saw Bathsheba bathing and everything. But what they are saying is, at this point, they said, no, we need to make sure that nothing happens to you. Okay? They don't care, meaning Absalom, okay, and the rest of Israel that is now on Absalom's side, saying they don't care about us. Okay? That's meaning they're not out looking for us. Okay? Yeah, they're going to run into us. If they happen to kill, half of us, it's not going to matter to them. Okay? And because essentially, okay, some die, but they're going to see, oh, David's not here. We don't care about them. We need to go after David. Okay? So they're saying is, look, we do not want you with us. Okay? Now this is, there's a much deeper, little bit deeper meaning to them saying this. And that's what we see at the very end of verse 3. "For you are now more help to us in the city." What they're saying is, the three of us, we can lead this offense. Okay? We don't need you leading here. We need you leading in the city. We need you to stay safe so that way once this is done, we have the leader that God has ordained to be in place. Okay? They see the importance of David in his role, and at this point, that's what they are saying, is in this one point, it is not you neglecting your duties. Okay? Essentially, we're going to put you in the brig to keep you safe while we go and fight the battle. Okay? And that is because you have much more important things in the grand scheme of this whole thing going on. So, King David then goes and actually, he sees the wisdom in what his men are saying, and he goes and says, right in verse 4, "Whatever seems best to you, I will do." Okay? David agrees. He goes and, I don't know, it's very well, could be a thing of, I really don't think, I'll put it that way. I don't think this is a thing of where David was offering to go, but hoping they wouldn't have him go. I really think he had the desire to go, but these three men that he put in charge, okay, he knows these men, and essentially, the way he looks at it is, even though I'm king, the way David is seeing is, this is 3 against 1 here. I'm not even going to win this argument. I may as well not even try to win this argument in this sense. And he saw that they were not, they were doing it for the right reasons. Okay, they weren't doing it in the sense of, we want to conquer Absalom because we want this victory on us. Okay, they were looking for absolutely no glory in it. What they were looking for was making sure that God's anointed stayed safe so that way he could get back on the throne in Judah like he was where he was supposed to be. Let's pick it back up in verse 5 and read a few more verses here. "Now the king had commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, saying, deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom. And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains orders concerning Absalom. So the people went out into the field of battle against Israel, and the battle was in the woods of Ephraim. The people of Israel were overthrown there before the servants of David, and a great slaughter of 20,000 took place there that day. For the battle there was scattered over the face of the whole countryside, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. Okay, so the first thing that we see, and this is, so you can tell this is something important to David, okay, is that even through everything that Absalom has done, and everything that Absalom is doing, even now to him personally, okay, he is still looking at Absalom as his son and saying, look, with him saying, deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom, that's essentially, instead of it, I know Pastor likes old westerns, wanted, dead or alive sort of thing, okay? No, this is not the case. No matter what, wanted, alive, okay? That is what he is saying. Do not let him, I don't want him to die. Please bring him back to me, okay? And David, in this case, did not just say it necessarily just directly to his three top men. Okay, he made sure all the leaders were present, even the captains that were under. So that way, he wanted to make sure this got to all of them. And so it says they all heard him. Now, when they went out, as we continue on, when they went out in this field, this battle, it was done in the woods of Ephraim. Okay, I looked this up a little bit to also understand, so I can understand also when in verse 8, it says towards the second half, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. Okay, the woods of Ephraim, that was an extremely harsh area. Okay, the woods of Ephraim were full. It was a very overgrown woods.
Dense.
Very dense. Thank you. Very dense woods. A lot of brush as well, and that hid a lot of dangers. Okay, the woods of Ephraim. One of the things they are known for is pits, natural pits or caves right on the ground. Vines and things grow over top, so you can't see. If you've seen, different movies and stuff where in different battles or whatever, they might dig a pit and put something, they cover it with vegetation, hoping that, an animal or the people, the enemy, whatever, would fall in. That's kind of what you're thinking of here, except it's more natural formation. That's one of the things, but we're not talking about a little pit where, okay, the men might be running along and would just drop down in this pit and go, oh, ow, dang it, I fell down in this pit and be able to climb out. Many times, these could drop into caves that could be up to 100 feet deep. Okay, so when you fall into these pits, it's a death sentence falling in, as well as these dense woods also had a lot of predators as well. Okay, so animals that meat eaters, like along the lines of, say, like a mountain lion, like that sort of thing. Large cats, panthers, and everything they have over there. And so what we are seeing, okay, there were 20,000 people that lost their lives there. However, of that 20,000, the majority of them, okay, were not even taken by the sword. They were not killed by David's men. That is how rough and how horrible the place, okay, the woods of Ephraim were. So on that day, in that battle, Absalom lost 20,000. Let's keep going in verse 9 here. Okay, this is where we see the demise of Absalom. Okay, all this that he has done. Then Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom rode on a mule. The mule went under the thick boughs of a great terebinth tree, or some versions say oak. So he was left hanging between heaven and earth, and the mule which was under him went on. I'm going to stop right there. I just want to explain another little thing about this.
He had a lot of hair.
Well, yes, okay. So we have pointed that out multiple times, okay? He not only had a lot of hair, but also to have that amount of hair. To be if you remember, he got one haircut a year, okay? And every time it was cut, it was about 5 pounds worth of hair, okay? The only possibility for that, and for him to still be able to move around and operate and go in battle, is if it was very curly locks of hair, okay? So in other words, it's the type of hair that is very beautiful, but you can just about break off a brush, trying to brush it, okay? And it's thick.
Colin.
What's that?
Colin.
Well, that young guy that was in the back.
I saw.
He had long hair and Colin.
Yeah. So as he's going, so what you're seeing is, it says Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom rode on a mule, okay? Essentially, what we are seeing here is Absalom is in the process of fleeing. Okay, that's how this is happening. The reason why we know that, he's riding on a mule. If he is approaching, if he is on the attack, that means he's looking straight ahead, looking where he's going. So in other words, a tree, I'm going to lead the mule around, or, if the mule's just like, I'm just going to go straight, he's going to duck. He's going to get out of the way of the branches. Meaning, he's distracted. He's looking behind him. Okay? And when he goes into this tree, you notice it says in the Bible, it uses the term, his head caught in the terebinth, okay? And the reason why we could know that it was his hair that got tangled up, even though it says just his head, is, if it was just his head was, say, caught between 2 branches, this is a man of war, okay? He knows how to battle, meaning he's not a wimp or a wuss. He could have gotten himself out of this, okay? So I decided to look up, because also being the different versions call it different things. Oak tree, terebinth tree. The terebinth tree is a tree that can grow, forever. The largest terebinth tree right now still alive is in Cyprus. And it is estimated to be over 1,500 years old. This tree is enormous around. Okay, but as they grow, the leaves and the branches get higher and higher away. It doesn't have low branches unless it's a younger tree. Especially when it's a younger tree, these branches are basically just like the curly locks of Absalom. Okay, they are more dense, and they are twisting and everything into each other. So as Absalom rides into this and his hair gets caught in it, okay, it's not, you would think, okay, well, wait a second. Okay, well, at least this is the way my brain worked, okay? Okay, wait a second, his hair is caught. Why not him just go and say, oh, well, okay, my haircut came early, why can't I grab my dagger or sword or whatever, cut my hair off and get out? Most likely what it was is it was a young enough tree where the branches were low enough where the mule knew he could clear. But the branches were most likely low enough to where that it wasn't just his head and hair, okay, that were in the tree. His upper body was most likely tangled up in it. He couldn't reach, could not get to his sword or his dagger. And looking at this, too, and going off of the King James, if I remember right, uses the term oak tree instead. There were certain, back when it was translated in the early 1600s by King James's men, if there was something like this, a terebinth tree, that they had no clue what it was, they would substitute something else, basically almost the same identical thought process with it that everybody would recognize. Everybody would know, oh, in England, okay, oak tree, I know what that is. That's a big, strong, sturdy tree, okay? That is what they are, that is why we see the oak versus the terebinth now. Now we know more and have access to, the world has more access to know these other older trees and such. But anyways, so we have Absalom that is tangled up in that tree, is not able to get out. Verse 10, now a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, I just saw Absalom hanging in a terebinth tree. So Joab said to the man who told him, you just saw him? And why did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have given you 10 shekels of silver and a belt. Joab was just given instructions.
Here's the reward.
You know, he was just given instructions from David. He's one of the top generals not to harm Absalom. And he goes and says to this man, you saw him hanging there. If you had have killed him, I would have given you 10 shekels and a belt. I want you to understand, we're not talking about a $15, $20 belt from Walmart. Okay, this would have been a military belt, a working belt. A good way to think of this is you can see it. You might see it once in a while in Vermont. You might see it even more if you go down to like Texas. Okay, but with different farmers and that sort of thing on their belt. Okay, you might see, depending on what they do, a lot of different things on that belt. Okay, you might see a Leatherman, a multi-tool, as well as a hunting knife or a buck knife. If they are part of, especially once they get rural, just like around here, we have a lot of volunteer people for fire department or first responders, you know, any sort of first responders. So you've got that pager or that beeper, and a lot of times then you have your main weapon nowadays being a gun, okay? Then obviously it was a sword, okay? And all these things on the belt, that is what he is talking about. It's not just the belt. He says, like, he's saying, I would have given you this belt, and that's also, with giving him that belt, is also signifying I would give you a promotion.
Yeah, it also would have a like a king seal to it, or just a seal. You know, and have a thing where they recognize and say, oh, this guy, he's been rewarded.
Yes, exactly.
So
That's
it could also be a seal or seal.
it's something. What's yeah. It's something big. It was very significant. It's not just a simple, like I said, simple belt from Walmart, okay, that you can pick up there. No, this had major significance that by wearing the belt, everybody would just see the belt and know, okay, this guy, as Pastor said, he's been rewarded. He did something great for the king or great for the kingdom or, whatever. It had great meaning behind it. Verse 12, but the man said to Joab, though I were to receive 1,000 shekels of silver in my hand. So Joab offered him 10 shekels. He's saying, though I were to receive 1,000 shekels in my hand, I would not raise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, saying, beware lest anyone touch the young man Absalom, otherwise I would have dealt falsely against my own life, for there is nothing hidden from the king, and you yourself would have to set yourself against me. This guy is saying, look, he's like, you could have offered me 1,000 shekels. I would not do it. I heard King David specifically say, I heard it with my own ears, him telling you that he was not to be harmed.
Joab was really kind of stupid.
Yeah.
If it was David's servant that he was, that
Yes.
had come to him, you would think I can't let him.
Just wait too.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just, oh, no, you're good. I'm just saying, you think he's stupid at this point, suggesting it, okay? But this guy goes and continues and saying, look, it's nothing you could give me, okay? That's even saying this belt that you give me, okay? This does nothing for me because I would lose my life for
My
this.
life is worth a lot more than a belt.
Oh yeah, my life is worth more than anything you could give me.
Yeah.
Okay? And he's just like, because I know, no matter what, okay, the saying, the walls have ears, sort of thing. It's just like, it will be seen, and it will be known, it will get back to King David that I was the one that killed him. So it's not worth it to me. Then Joab said, verse 14, I cannot linger with you. And he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth tree. Joab then goes, okay, one of David's top men, goes from suggesting to someone lower that he would reward him greatly for taking Absalom's life. He has now gone, and you notice, while he was still alive. Now this alive does not mean that he was hanging there by, he was hanging on by a thread where he was, half dead anyways, okay? That's not what we're talking about. This still alive means that Absalom is there. He can see him. He is awake. He is alive. He's healthy. He's fine, okay? Joab should have gone, and say put the handcuffs on him and then cut him out of the tree and taken him back to David. Instead, right where Absalom could see him do it, he went and took not just 1, but 3 spears and plunged them, says into the heart, that means into the chest. Essentially what a lot of people, scholars and such surmise is his thought process. 1 through the heart, and then just to make sure, 1 through each lung is most likely what he was going after. He was doing 3. And, so he was making sure, okay, it wasn't just a thing of, okay, put a spear to his heart, okay, whatever, he's dead, he can't live for that. Of course, we know if you watch any movies from Hollywood that, somehow that occasional person survives, No, he wanted to make sure that Absalom did not live. And then on top of it, okay, obviously Absalom is dead. Okay, he killed Absalom. Verse 15, and 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom and struck and killed him. So I'm sorry, take that back a second. So Absalom is dying. He is going to die. Okay, then essentially Joab allows 10 of his armor-bearer men, okay, to essentially surround Absalom, who is dying, and use him as a piñata. Okay? Just beat on him in the tree until he is 100% dead. Okay? It's, so it went from just killing him to really coming down to a torturous death as well. And then, let's see. So Joab, verse 16, Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing Israel, for Joab held back the people. The trumpet that Joab blew, there were different trumpets or notes of the trumpet that meant different things, okay? And that was used right up in military, even, that's why I was going to say the bugle boy. Yeah, that's what it was, okay? Different notes or tones or whatever meant different things. The one that he blew, in this case, would signify the battle is over, okay? our goal has been accomplished. Verse 17, they took Absalom, cast him into a large pit in the woods, and laid a very large heap of stones over him. Then all Israel fled, everyone to his tent. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up a pillar for himself, which is in the king's valley, for he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. He called the pillar after his own name, and to this day it is called Absalom's monument. So here they take and I have a feeling that what it is that it's not that Joab doesn't want David. It's obviously David's going to find out that Absalom is dead, okay? I think his reasoning behind hiding the body is he does not want David to see what they did to his son. And where it wasn't just a simple killing, you could put it. He did not want David to see it, so he hid that evidence. And I did look too. This Absalom's monument is still standing to this day. And when it says a pillar, okay, it's not a pillar by what we think of a pillar. A pillar where it's just a straight wooden or stone or whatever, just a straight piece, straight shaft. This is it actually has a little room that was originally meant, Absalom thought so much of himself that people might come to pray in it. There is a small little room above it, and then his goal or his thought process was that is where he would be buried. That was to be his tomb, which obviously from the text we know that's not where his body was put to rest. Okay. But that is still there. That still can be seen. And the next, let's see, we have enough time to finish this. This will go quick. The next long group of verses, which is 19 through 33, okay? What we have is, let's just read a couple verses. Then, that guy's name. Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, Let me run now and take the news to the king, how the Lord has avenged him of his enemies. And Joab said to him, You shall not take the news this day, for you shall take the news another day. But today you shall take no news, because the king's son is dead. Ahimaaz, however that's pronounced, okay, he was one that was well known, and we know that as a messenger, okay? Let's see, we know that from, I'll go down to verse 24 real quick. Now David was sitting between the two gates, and the watchman went up to the roof over the gate to the wall, lifted his eyes and looked, and there was a man running alone. Then the watchman cried out and told the king, and the king said, If he is alone, there is news in his mouth. And he came rapidly and drew near. Then the watchman saw another man coming. The watchman called to the gatekeeper and said, There is another man running alone. And the king said, He also brings news. So the watchman said, I think the running of the first is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. Okay, so you notice that there's two men running. Okay, so you first have this young man Ahimaaz, who is a messenger, but all he wants to do is run to tell David, your son is dead. This is done. But there's one thing, okay? The reason why Joab held him back was Ahimaaz did not have any of the facts. He hadn't been briefed on anything. All he had was, he had heard rumor or whatever, or he knew the battle is over, Absalom is dead. That's it. That's all that he knew, okay? That the battle is over. And he was gung-ho, he wanted to go do this. Joab held him back. Instead, in verse 21, Joab said to the Cushite, so there's another one, and it does not give his name, so it's just another messenger. He tells him to go tell the king what you have seen, okay? So this messenger, the Cushite, is one that has, that was front, he would have been one that was more front lines, okay? He saw, he was in all the briefing, he'd been debriefed, all of that. So Joab sent him to go tell King David, okay? However, Ahimaaz was not real happy with that, okay? He was, since he is named, I'm going to say he was typically the first one usually picked, okay? He was the best of the messengers. He was the fastest runner, okay, out of all of them to take these messages. And so he finally convinced, like, look, I know you've already sent this other guy. I know you sent this Cushite out. Let me still go. Please. He basically is begging to the point, I'm sure as parents, I'm sure all of us at one time or another, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, even if we may have said no, I'm sure at some point that little kid has broken through and finally convinced us to let him do something. Okay, that's essentially what we see. So the Cushite has we don't know how much, but he has a head start. But it doesn't matter, as we read a minute ago, down in 24, 25, 26 there, 27, okay? Ahimaaz is so good, he has passed the Cushite messenger. To the point when the gatekeeper goes up and sees it, he goes out just to look for a messenger, see if there's any news coming. He could only see the one at first. Okay, that's how much of a lead Ahimaaz has. And so anyways, David knew that there is news coming. So the king, being that the watchman knew just by how fast, okay, that's what I'm going off of, okay, that it was most likely Ahimaaz that was coming. King David said, the end of verse 27, he is a good man and comes with good news. So Ahimaaz called out and said to the king, all is well. Okay, see? This is why Joab did not want to send him. He did not understand everything. Meaning he probably also did not know that original, do not have that original command or know of it from David saying not to kill Absalom. So he's going in, all is well. Okay, so he's running in. All is well, the battle is done, your son is dead, this is great, Okay, that is the way that he is running in. Continuing in verse 28, blessed be the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who raised their hand against my lord the king. The king said, is the young man Absalom safe? Ahimaaz answered, when Joab sent the king's servant and me, your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I did not know what it was about. Okay? So here we have this guy goes and comes in and he's saying, he comes in, he's saying, oh, the war is over. I know this. Everything has been done. This, these men have been conquered that went against you, oh great king. David says, okay, well, what's the news? What about Absalom? Oh, I don't know. How embarrassing did that probably have to be with him? I don't know. I didn't actually see it. So that's what we see. The king said, turn aside and stand here. So essentially he's just like, you don't bring me any news then. And he pushed him to the side. And that's when he then approached that second one. When the Cushite came, verse 31, the Cushite said, there is good news, my lord the king, for the Lord has avenged you this day, and all those who rose against you. And the king said to the Cushite, is the young man Absalom safe?" So the Cushite answered, "May the enemies of my lord the king, and all who rise against you to do harm, be like that young man." And we know, verse 33, "Then the king was deeply moved and went to the chamber over the gate and wept." He knew when he said that, even though he did not, the messenger did not come right out and say, "He is dead," with him saying, "May all your enemies be like Absalom," okay? That is a very strong implication, is he's dead. He was killed in battle. Okay? So obviously, David went up and wept. And as he went, he said thus, "O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died in your place. O Absalom, my son, my son." We're going over a little bit tonight, but I just want to do a few more verses that go with this in chapter 19. Okay? So we're going to look at just the first 8 verses real quick. "And Joab was told, Behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard it said that day, The king is grieved for his son. And the people stole back into the city that day, as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried out with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. Then Joab came into the house to the king and said, Today you have disgraced all your servants, who today have saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, in that you love your enemies and hate your friends. For you have declared today that you regard neither princes nor servants. For today I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died today, then it would have pleased you well. Now therefore arise, go out and speak comfort to your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night, and that will be worse for you than all the evil that had befallen you from your youth until now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told all the people, saying, There is the king sitting in the gate. So all the people came before the king, for everyone of Israel had fled to his tent. Okay, so all the people of Israel fleeing to their tent, meaning the ones that were still alive, that followed Absalom. Okay, they're just like, okay, the battle's over. They're not taking us prisoner. We're just going to go back, and maybe they'll just, everything will be fine. We'll just sneak back to our house and pretend we weren't ever out in that battlefield supporting Absalom. Okay, so just real quickly to sum up this account here is David, obviously, it is his son. There is some mourning to be expected, okay, in that sense, okay? However, David has taken it to the point of he won't even speak to or regard or give thanks or praise for all of these men that put their lives on the line for him. It was simply all a boo-hoo, woe is me, feeling bad for himself, pity party. Essentially, that's what it was turning into, okay? It went beyond just mourning for his son to having a pity party and feeling, just ignoring everyone. So Joab essentially just comes in and says, so obviously he must be even though Joab was the one that killed Absalom, okay, or had a major hand in it, let's put it that way, he had to have been a very trusted friend as well of David for him to be able to walk into David and speak to him the way he does. Okay, he essentially is walking in, walks up to David, basically slaps him across the face, one way, back and forth, like snap out of it. Look, I'm just saying, it's not just talking about me. Everyone. You are disregarding, you are forgetting everyone. They have put their lives on the line for you. You are ignoring them. You keep this up, and you're going to lose your throne. Everyone is going to turn against you. Snap out of it. It's okay to be sad, but you need to recognize those who have stayed faithful to you in this. And he even said, "For I perceived that Absalom had lived and all of us had died." He goes, "Look, the way that you're acting now, you know what that says to me? We don't matter to you at all. We could have all died, but as long as if your son, who has done nothing to you but cause you grief and heartache, even coming after your own life, and yet you still value him over everyone else." And it says that essentially, okay, he got through to David. David went back out to the gate where he should be, okay, and meaning at that gate meaning in a place where the people could come to him, and he could thank them properly, that sort of thing, okay. So unfortunately, we saw in some ways tonight was a sad thing in the sense of David's son dying. However, obviously, what does that mean? That means that God's appointed is back on the throne now, okay, in Israel. So that is where we are finishing for tonight, and we will pick up with David next week. Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much for tonight, and Lord, as we just saw in this account, and right towards the end where Joab went in somewhat of a harsh way, but went to David to get him to snap out of it. Lord, I pray that if there is anyone here tonight or anyone watching online, Lord, if we are getting to be that way in our walk, in our Christianity, in our relationship with you, Lord, just growing stale, or we're just focusing on the wrong things, God, I just pray that you would, as Joab did, just give us that slap up beside the face if need be, to get our attention and draw us back to a place where we need to be and where we should be, Lord. And I just ask your blessing, Lord, tonight on these people, the Bible studies this week, and the prayer meeting Wednesday night, as well as men's breakfast is coming Saturday. Lord, I just ask your blessing